You have checked your phone today without deciding to. Not once. Probably dozens of times. Your hand moved before your mind did. You picked it up, looked at a screen, and felt a small flick of something, and you weren't even sure what you were looking for. You call it a bad habit. You think you lack discipline. But the real answer is far stranger. You are not weak. You are being hunted. And the thing hunting, you knows your brain better than you do. To understand why, you have to go back long before phones, before screens, before electricity. Picture one of your ancestors walking across an open landscape, hungry, food is scarce, survival depends on one thing above all others, finding what is new. A new bush heavy with berries, a new watering hole, a new trail of tracks. The ancestor who felt a jolt of excitement at something new and went to investigate, ate. The one who felt nothing stayed put and slowly starved. That jolt of excitement has a name. It's a chemical called dopamine. The neuroscientist Kent Berridge spent years pulling apart two things we usually treat as one, wanting and liking. And what he found is the thing almost everyone gets wrong about dopamine. Dopamine is not the chemical of pleasure, it is the chemical of wanting. It doesn't reward you for finding the berries, it rewards you for seeking them. It is the engine of curiosity, the fuel of the hunt, and for hundreds of thousands of years, it pointed your ancestors toward everything that kept them alive. So let me ask you something. If dopamine evolved to make you chase what's new and rewarding, what happens when something is invented that is infinitely new, forever? You're holding it. The neuroscientist Wolfram Schultz spent years recording the dopamine neurons of monkeys, and what he found should change how you see every notification you've ever received. He looked at what dopamine does when a reward is uncertain. When a monkey learned that a signal meant it would definitely get a treat, dopamine spiked at the signal. But when the reward became unpredictable, when there was only a maybe, something stranger happened. The dopamine didn't just spike, it surged to its highest level of all, higher than when the treat was guaranteed. The not knowing was more powerful than the reward itself. Sit with that for a second. Your brain produces more wanting when the payoff is uncertain than when it's guaranteed. Now think about what happens every time you pull down to refresh a feed. Maybe there's a new message, maybe there's nothing, maybe something amazing, maybe garbage. You don't know. And that not knowing is the exact condition that floods your brain with the most dopamine possible. The refresh is not a feature. It is a slot machine. And you are pulling the lever. This is not an accident. The people who design these apps know precisely what Schultz found. The psychologist, B.F. Skinner, discovered decades ago that the fastest way to make a behavior compulsive is something called a variable reward schedule. Give a pigeon a food pellet every time it presses a lever, and it presses calmly only when hungry. But give it a pellet at random, unpredictable times, and the pigeon will press that lever until it collapses. Not the steady reward, the random one. That is the design pattern sitting in your pocket right now, refined by thousands of engineers, tested on billions of people. So stop for a second and notice something. While you've been watching this, have you felt the pull? That low itch to check? Just once? Just quickly? That is not you being undisciplined. That is a 200,000-year-old hunting instinct being played like an instrument. Here is where it gets darker. Your dopamine system was built for a world where new things were rare. Finding something novel took effort, time, distance. The reward was occasional, and the seeking had natural limits. You couldn't hunt forever because eventually you found the berries, or the sun went down, or you got tired. The system had brakes built into reality itself. The screen removed the brakes. There is always one more video. There is always one more post. The novelty never runs out, so the seeking never stops. Your brain keeps firing the want, expecting that any second now you'll find the thing that satisfies it. But the feed is engineered so that thing never quite arrives. You are a hunter, dropped into a forest where the prey is infinite and you can never, ever eat your fill. And there's a cruel twist. The researcher Anna Lembke, who studies addiction at Stanford, describes how the brain responds to a flood of dopamine. It tries to restore balance by reducing its own dopamine sensitivity. So the more you chase the hit, the less the hit satisfies. The baseline drops, the world off the screen starts to feel gray and boring and slow, and the only thing that feels like anything anymore is reaching for the phone again. You're not chasing pleasure at that point, you're just trying to feel normal. So what do you actually do with this? Because understanding the trap doesn't switch off the wanting. Start with one shift. The next time your hand reaches for your phone without a reason, don't fight the urge with willpower. Willpower loses to a 200,000-year-old instinct almost every time. Instead, name what's happening. This is my seeking system firing. There is no berry. There is no prey. My brain is hunting in a forest with no food. That single sentence does something quiet but powerful. It opens a gap, a half second of space between the urge and the hand. And in that gap, the part of you that can actually choose finally gets a vote. Then make the seeking harder the way reality used to. Put the phone in another room, turn the screen gray so the colors stop feeding the want, delete the one app that pulls hardest. You are not trying to defeat your instinct. You are putting back the brakes that the modern world stripped out. And here's the part almost nobody tells you. None of this is about killing your dopamine, wanting nothing, sitting empty and still. A person who wants nothing isn't free. They're not enlightened, they're depressed. That seeking drive is the same force that makes you curious, that makes you build, that makes you fall in love with an idea and chase it for years. You don't want it gone. You want it aimed at things that actually feed you, instead of a glowing rectangle that never will. So the next time you catch your hand drifting toward your phone before your mind has decided anything at all, don't reach for guilt. The reaching isn't a character flaw. Ask instead what your brain thinks it's hunting out there, and then decide for yourself whether there's anything in that forest actually worth catching. Because you have checked your phone today without deciding to, and now, for the first time, you know exactly who taught your hand to move.